Welcome back, everyone. I'm Zell, and today we're getting a look at what's inside this box from WE. Alright guys, here recently I heard some people talking about WE's packaging for some of their special edition knives. The 604 DS and DST, the Eschaton, and it's all the same packaging. And they were saying, wow, that is just over the top crazy. Why in the world do they do that? Well, you know that I like nice packaging, and I want to go over how this thing is packaged and why I don't think it's over the top. I actually think that it's very appropriate for the limited edition knives. There are a couple things that are a little off, but we'll get into that. First off, we have a sleeve. Sleeve just says WE Knife Company and kind of a gold foil right there, and a little sticker with the 720A Zeta. One of the first ones to actually have the name of the knife on the sticker, and that is very nice, very nice. You have to excuse me, I'm still suffering a little bit from that Bell's palsy. And some days it gets my lips just a little bit, and man, some words come out funny. Anyhow, once we got it open, top of the box says WE Knife, has the little diamond around it, limited edition. Now that is the piece that probably could have been skipped, is this limited edition WE Knife in a little circle. But hey, it's not that big a deal. On the end of it, we see WE Knife Company Ltd. On the bottom, we have their social media contact links. And on the back, we say WE Knife Company Limited. And that's it till we open the box. And this box reminds me a whole lot of the box that Boker uses on some of their mid and high-end knives. It's magnetic right here, has a nice fold back right here. Inside, we have Joe Shung's signature and WE Knife logo and the diamonds again. And Joe, if you don't know, obviously is the CEO of WE Knife Company. Really great guy. And if you get a chance to meet him at Blade Show, do so. He'll be there. And then we have a certificate of authenticity. It gives you the number certificate. I can't say the word right now, guys. Sorry. And you can read it right there. And we've got specifications for the knife, Joe's signature again, and Elijah Isham's signature. And very nicely done there, not over the top in my opinion. And we have our WE Knife cleaning cloth, really nice there, and of course our little piece of desiccant. And the knife. We'll get it out of the way for just a second because we want to look down in here. Down in here we have a laser cut area for the knife. Very nicely done all the way around in my opinion. If you guys think it's over the top or too much for a limited edition knife, you guys let me know, and I'll get the feedback to Joe and his team, and if they need to make changes, they will. But here's what we're here to talk about today. This is the WE Zeta. And guys, if you watched the video before, there are some minor changes to this knife in production form from the prototype we looked at about 10 months ago. They're very minor. Some of them we won't even talk about, but there's a couple of very important ones. First up, let's get a look at the outside of it. We're 4.85 inches long, 5.54 thick, and 1.36 tall. We have a blade stock thickness of 4 millimeters, or 0.156, 158, and a weight of 4.05 ounces. Now that's pretty reasonable for a blade that's 3.64 inches long and 3.8 inches of cutting edge. Okay, how does that work? Well, whenever I measure blade length, I measure from the tip to the foremost part of the handle. That gives you the 3.64. Whenever I measure the edge, I measure the edge from the edge termination to the tip of the blade. That gives us 3.8. Why do I do that? And wow, I'm spitting all over myself. Sorry, guys. Why do I do that? Well, I do that because most legal documents in the United States talking about blade length talk about the forwardmost part of the handle and the tip of the blade. Now, don't take that as legal advice, but that's why I measure them that way. And getting a close look at this guy, we have carbon fiber overlay right here, and all of the milled out pieces here and back through here are textured. It's a little hard to see the texture, I know, but it is there, believe me. Very nicely textured on all points. We have a tumbled bronze through here. We have a nice WE pivot I know some of you guys think that's gaudy. I rather like the wee pivots, and I know you're saying, well, you work with them. Well, yes, I do. And if I were going to have a logo anywhere on this knife, the way that WE does their pivots is way better than many, many other ones. And it's actually kind of comforting because they don't put any billboarding anywhere else on the knife. All you have are 6 lines on the pivot, and if you don't know what a WE knife is, you're not going to recognize it. So, whatever. Anyhow, moving on along, we do have our pivot collar over here, and we do have torque screws, all titanium torque screws, and I just really like this. We retained the look on the pocket clip. Now, if you were to have the prototype and measure it up against this one, the pocket clip is one of the major places where there was a minor change. This pocket clip lifts up just a little bit more than the prototype did. Very good change there. The other major change is the flipper tab. You see how small that is? Well, on the prototype it was even smaller. Whenever they went back for redesign, they added a couple millimeters to this flipper tab, and it makes all the difference in the world, as we'll see here in a minute. So let's get this guy open, and we'll get a quick look at it before we lay him down for our size comparisons. And first up, of course, we've got our standards. That's all we're going to do today. We've got the Buck 110. We've got the Rat Model 1. And, of course, we have a Spyderco Delica. And it's bigger than all of them, except maybe the Buck 110, but it's lighter than the big knives, and that's always, always good. And while we got it here, let's get a look at the blade. This is a big old slab of M390. We talked about the length. We've got an actual blade length 3.64, edge length 3.8, and we've got a big, tall, flat grind. And guys, this thing cuts extremely well. One measurement I did not get before doing this was our behind the edge measurement, and we're going to get that really quick here if I can get the calipers held. We don't want millimeters, do we? Because, well, I don't understand millimeters whenever we're talking about this. So we're looking at about 0.2 behind the edge. You know, and that's as good as I can get. Trying to get the calipers and measure back there with that little bitty secondary bevel is pretty hard, but the little bitty secondary bevel really points to that being a very thin edge, and the way it cuts points to it being a very thin edge as well. We have a bone stock knife here and stock edge. I have not touched it with any sort of sharpening equipment, and you know, we're slicing right through the phone book paper. So very good job on WE, very good job on design with Elijah Isham, and that is another, I said there's only 2, that is another major change from the prototype. The edge thickness here is much, much better. And getting a look on at the blade, we've got this big triangular type section here, follows the knife handle right there, and then it's nice and chamfered out. Looks like it's been wire EDM'd out of there, and looks really nice. We got what big chamfer or swedge up there across the top of the blade on both sides. Everything has been softened just a little bit, just enough to not hurt you, except where it's supposed to be sharp. And we've got that satin finish belt finish. And to explain that, what happens here is after they run this thing through the CNC, they run the belt over it to clean everything up, and you get the lines from the belt, obviously. And they look kind of nice, but you stop at 300 or 400 grit, and then you go to a really high grit belt, and I don't know exactly what they're using. There's lots of different ways to achieve this. And you go over it lightly with that high grit belt, and you end up with that shine, but you still see the grind lines, and that's just beautiful to me. Absolutely love that. And from here, we're going to go to the pause and read card, and I'll be right back with you. Alright guys, mechanically, we're all WE knife here. We do have, you know, pivot, ceramic ball bearings, backing washers, ceramic detent ball, the standard WE knife stuff. Where we deviate from what WE knife normally does is we've got a bolster lock and we have a huge lock bar insert. And if you can see down in there, I know it's kind of hard. From here all the way to the back of the blade is lock bar insert. And it's big. However, knife locks up. Well, I hate that like a bank vault thing, but that's what it does. It's just very, very solid. No problems with the mechanical bits anywhere here, just like every other WE knife. It kind of kicks tail and excellent. So let's grab the pocket and get it in there. There is our pair of Levi's. And you get this guy down the pocket. There is no lanyard hole. And this is one of the places, Toshi, if you're watching, Elijah's got you here. I love your designs, man. But you guys, some of your designs are very similar as far as handle shape to where the blade's at. And what I don't like about yours is they all hook backwards, and that hook grabs onto everything. I tried to carry the Future. I tried to carry one of the other ones, and it was like, oh my God, I'm running into everything, beating the heck out of this super expensive knife. I can't do this. Elijah has not put that hook on there and has got everything straightened up, and you can carry this thing and it doesn't run into stuff. Now, is it a knife that you're going to carry in big thick pants? No. There's still not enough room under that pocket clip. For regular jeans, slacks, that sort of thing, you're all good, and it stays clipped very, very well for being a short pocket clip. As far as, and we can look right here, as far as running your hand down in your pocket, and I guess that'd be on the other side, wouldn't it? It's going to be fine. You catch the knife. There's no flipper tab to get in your way. So, as Nick Shabazz would complain about, there's no pocket pecker there. But it does make this thing, in a weird sort of way, almost a front flipper. And speaking of that, let's talk about how this thing works as a flipper. That is essentially tiny. And it's not as tiny as it was on the prototype, but it's tiny. But you get a hold of that thing, and because it's so smooth, there you go. Now, going to unlock it, it will guillotine you. So be careful about that. If you got your hand way up there, you can use that flipper tab as a blade stop. But if you're back here, it's going to hit flesh before it hits fingernail. So be aware of that. I almost cut myself yesterday with it. But very nice there. And that blade hole, it doesn't work so good as a thumb flick, but it does work good as a thumb roll, or middle finger flick. Perfect. In fact, that's how I generally have opened the knife since I got it. However, the actual flipper tab works really, really good, and it doesn't matter which hand you put it in. Everything works fine. You have to be mindful of putting your hand on the lock bar, and I need to talk more about that. That seems to be a problem for a lot of people, getting their fingers on the lock bar when they're flipping their knife. Can't do that because then you're putting pressure on the detent ball, which pushes the detent ball into the blade and keeps you from flipping the knife open. Not good. So let's talk about ergonomics. What do y'all think I'm going to say? You can put it down there in the comments. Do I even need to talk about it? All right, I will. So you get your hand around this thing. There is no jimping on the back of the knife. So that is a little slick right there. However, you're held in tight right here. So not a huge deal. There's nothing on this knife that gets me as a hot spot. It's just, Elijah did a phenomenal job with setting the ergonomics up on this knife. You can get it here. You can draw cut with it. Getting in the reverse grip, it's a little pointy back here, but if you're getting in that grip, it's there for a reason, so it's okay. Your pinches, I like having the blade hole, just like similar to a Spyderco, to get in there or get up on it like this. There's plenty of spine to get in here for those. Plenty of thickness in the blade to get there for that, but plenty of height in that grind to still keep it, as we saw, thin behind the edge. And so there it is, guys. Do I have any complaints? Well, yes. I would like to have one of these blades without the hole in it. Why? Because at a full height grind, or maybe not even full height, maybe put the small triangle in it, but bringing that grind up just that little bit taller would make this thing, it's already a very good cutter, but it would make it phenomenal. I would add some sort of mild jimping back here. Look to Leong Ma and the way he does his jimping. That's the kind of thing I would add back in here. Pocket clip is something that I would raise just a hair more. A couple thousandths would be all it'd take. And I would probably bring that pocket clip back down this way and give it, another 1/4 of an inch. And give it a little bit more curve. Just more stylistic and a little more secure in the pocket, and lift it up a little more to accommodate those thicker pocket seams. Because this, guys, I know it's a limited edition. I know it's Elijah Isham's second knife with WE, and it's going to be really awesome for a lot of people. But man, what I hope happens is that WE takes this design and this model and runs their 700 knives, and then sometime next year or sometime later this year, we see this design come back in a more pedestrian dress. Even if it's all titanium and it weighs a little more, even if it's, got some G10 back here or something else, I would like to see this knife come back in a more pedestrian, I say pedestrian, that's not really the right word, but in a less dolled up model that is not a limited edition, that's for the average guy to purchase and use. And because I just really believe, and I know, it's not believing, I know, I've carried the prototype, I've carried this one a little bit. These are great everyday carry knives, but you got that limited edition thing on there and the price tag. This thing is about $300, so makes it hard to carry it every day because there's only going to be so many of them. Anyhow, guys, those are my thoughts on the WE Knife Company and Isham Blade Works Zeta limited edition knife. It's the second release for Elijah Isham with WE Knife, and wow, is it a winner. I just kind of wish it wasn't a limited edition. Anyhow, you guys have a great day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out the Patreon, and I will see you next time.